Hi guys, and welcome back to Maltbox, the non-chill filtered whiskey blog. I'm Andy, and I'm back here today with another whiskey review. And I'm pretty chuffed because this is whiskey review number 200. I could have hit that target quite a while ago if I hadn't had a 2-year hiatus and then a 4-month hiatus from the channel. Whoops. But it is what it is, and I'm here now, and I've hit number 200. Happy days. There we go. And I'm going to be reviewing a whiskey that's pretty special to me. Now, I ummed and ahed about this. I was going to review an old one that I've had tucked away, or a sample that I've had tucked away, but I thought, do you know what, what's the point? Because people can't really get hold of it anymore. And also, I don't, a lot of the older whiskies that I buy, I bought years and years ago when they weren't expensive, or I buy cheap old whiskies like grains and stuff like that. So I wanted to focus on one of my passions, which obviously is whiskey, but specifically English whiskey. And the whiskey that I'm going to be reviewing is a Cotswolds bottling, and it's the Cotswolds Sherry Cask Single Malt English Whiskey. And here it is. And it's a very fetching, almost regal purple container. Now, I've been to the Cotswolds Distillery 3 times. I've done the tasting experience thing, I've done the tour, I've done the warehouse tour, yada yada yada. And a couple of the other times I've basically just popped in and just snagged the hand fills, the special editions. It's nowhere near where I live, but whenever we go down to the Cotswolds for a long weekend, I have to go. Now, the Sherry Cask, this is a batch release, so batches will differ. In this particular batch, there's 9,900 bottles, so chances are there's still some bottles from this knocking about. I think it's about, I think I got this in 2021, maybe 2022, start of 2022. Now this is a chunky monkey. This is a strong whiskey. This is 57.4%. Here it is in the bottle, covered in fingerprints, as they tend to be. That doesn't mean that I'm drinking it like that. But yeah, anyway, there is the bottle. So now this is natural colour, non-chill filtered. It's 57.4%, so you could probably gather that it's probably going to be non-chill filtered. However, the reason I can tell specifically is because it says it on the back, exactly where I want to see it. I want to know if this whiskey's non-chill filtered and natural colour, and it's on the label exactly where you want to see it. Now, I picked this up for the RRP at the distillery of 65 quid. It's one thing that does disappoint me about Cotswolds is the cork is so small, so it doesn't make a pop. It's a very pedantic thing to be upset about. It's so small. Why are you so small? Anyway, right. So, Cotswolds Distillery. If you've never been, if you live in England and you're going on holiday to the Cotswolds, or you're going to be passing, near the Cotswolds, do it. Go to the distillery. Lovely little distillery. Lovely staff. Great cafe. You can sit in the cafe and there's a table in the corner that's up against plate glass, and you can actually see the still room. One of the times that I went in, you couldn't actually go into the still room area because of COVID. We had to stay on the floor, not lying down, but we had to stay on the ground floor under the mezzanine where the stills were. The warehouse is great, nice little warehouse, lovely area. The Cotswolds is stunning. It reminds me a lot of where we are at the minute, in North Lancashire on the border of Cumbria. Rolling hills, lots of farming areas, lovely little villages, absolutely stunning. If you can go, do it. I would heartily recommend. Now, sherry is not usually my preferred method of whiskey imbibation. I have said several times that I am an ex-bourbon cask guy because I like the kind of purity it brings, the kind of ability to show a spirit's true character. Admittedly, a hogshead or a refill will probably do that a lot better than a first fill ex-bourbon, but I also just like the kind of vanilla flavours it brings to whiskies generally. Yes, it's boring. Yes, I am boring. Did you not know that? I'm recording a video about whiskey. So the Cotswold Sherry Cask is kind of a little bit of a detour from my usual flavour profile of preference. But for me, particularly English whiskey, I'm not a big fan of FOMO, so I don't like chasing things down, like Bimbers, for example, sell out really quick. I'm not bothered about Bimbers Spirit of the Underground range, for example, because for me it's just too expensive. I like just getting their general releases when I can get hold of them. The Cotswolds is a bit different because their releases are generally bigger. They've got a bigger capacity than Bimber do. They stick around for a bit longer because they do bigger batches, and they've got a broader product range. And for me, English whiskey is a bit like Pokemon. I want to catch it all, but I know that I can't, and I know that I don't really want to in the long run. So this is not a limited release. It will be around for the foreseeable, I hope. I do have quite an extensive collection of the Cotswolds. So I've got like the Founder's Reserve. I've the bourbon single cask. I've got a port single cask, a Madeira single cask, the general release, the reserve. I've got about 10 or 12 Cotswolds bottlings. This one I only opened about 2 months ago, after we'd moved in, and I just wanted a nice dram, a sherried, heavy, strong sherry dram on a really cold, wet night in winter. The roof was leaking, it was really grim. I just wanted to be cheered up and enveloped in a nice warm sherried embrace, so I went with this. Now, the cask variation will differ. The cask makeup will differ in these releases because they use a mixture of both PX and Oloroso seasoned casks in the makeup. Now, that could vary batch to batch. Sometimes they might have more Oloroso than PX, etc., or vice versa. So you may find that the flavours that I describe in here, whilst they're very rarely accurate anyway, they may differ from the next batch if you get a different batch. So I will try it with and without water. I've talked enough, let's go. Right, on the nose. Dates, ginger, milky coffee, chocolate raisins, little chocolate raisins you get. A little bit nutty. It's kind of like a cranberry sauce vibe going on, or certainly maybe like a blackcurrant jam. Spice, mixed spice, not cinnamon, not clove, not star anise, a little bit of everything. It's good. Very good nose at full strength, 57.4%. Doesn't smell 57.4%, I'll be honest, on the palate. Right. Hat. Right. Spicy. It's spicy, it's strong, it's going to be a young whiskey. I think the sherry probably plays quite a part of it because it dries your tongue out quite a lot. So your tongue dries and then you got the strength of the alcohol as well. Very, very nice mouthfeel. It's very warming, sweet, almost bordering on sickly sweet. There's some kind of, what is that? Is that more nuttiness? I think that's kind of like a cashew nut kind of nuttiness. Like, like quite a delicate nuttiness that's kind of breaking up that spice and the sweetness as well. That finish is good, nice and long. Chocolate again. Think drinking chocolate, hot chocolate. More raisins. So some of them are very atypical sherry cask flavours, Right, I'm going to put 1.5 teaspoons in what's left, which should be more than enough for that. Oh, what is it? There's something I can't quite get hold of. Oh, that's going to annoy me so much. I'm trying to go, whenever I'm struggling, I sort of like try and envisage what's in my spice cupboard or my dry condiment cupboard, and then I think what's in the fridge, what's in like the dried fruit baking area. I sort of reach out around my kitchen trying to find inspiration for what I'm tasting. Maybe a little bit of that milky coffee again from the nose, in fact, come to think of it, or maybe like, I know it's like a cashew nut, but maybe some like hazelnutty thing, like a Nutella, chocolatey, nutty mixture. And do you know what? I think there's something lighter in there, like a honey to be honest. Yeah, it's sweet, or golden syrup, honey. But it kind of lifts it up a little bit, makes it a bit lighter, brings it from the dark, deep, rich flavour profile into more of a uplifted sweetness. Now, yeah, I've always used teaspoons for water. I cannot be asked for those little pipette things. I used to have like 10 of them that I got from various sample packs and whatever else. Never use them. Teaspoon, what's wrong with a teaspoon? I think this whiskey can probably take, in advance, I know I've not tasted it yet, but it can take quite a bit of water. It's 57.4%, so it's not as strong as others, like in the 60s, for example. But having tried it previously, I know that it can handle quite a bit of water, even at that 57.4. So I probably brought this down with a teaspoon and a half, probably closer to the early 40s, if I'm being honest, if I give it some chance, or maybe sort of like the mid 40s. Now with that water on the nose, it's more perfumed. There's like a rose water thing coming out now. I'm trying to dial back my accent, my broad accent as much as I can, but I sometimes slip into it. Ordinarily I'd say rose, but I'm trying to say rose, rounded. And as well, I think the nuttiness is more prevalent. I think the chocolate's probably a bit more prevalent as well. That spiciness is still there. It gives it a little bit of backbone. Pepper. Again, is that mixed spice? I think it might be on the palate. Oh, lovely, sweet, spicy, malty, chocolatey, plummy, raisiny, nutty goodness. It's a nice dram, it's a young dram. You can tell that this is a young whiskey. The sherry fills in some of those holes, you could say, from an older equivalent. However, Cotswolds base spirit is great spirit. It is. They actually sell it as new make and they call it white pheasant, I think, from memory. It's a great base spirit, it really is. And they've got a lot of flexibility around cask management. They use a load of different types of casks. And it's probably, it's very quickly making its way to becoming my favourite English distillery. It really is. I just think purely because it's probably one of the most accessible as well. If somebody hasn't tried English whiskey before, just go to a supermarket. Waitrose, for example. Not that you get them this far north because, you know, we're not posh enough. They sell the Cotswolds standard release for like 35 quid, sometimes 30 quid on offer. Booths, which is like the Northern Waitrose, again, they sell Cotswolds. They sell a lot of English whiskey booths, actually. It's fantastic. They're probably the best stockist of English whiskey to anybody in the region of the northwest of England, I think. If you're near a booth, seriously, go and check them out. They usually have a great selection of whiskey, generally, not just English whiskey, and they sort of mirror a lot of Waitrose's offers. It's a great little distillery. It really, really is. And Dan and the team have done very well. They know what they want to do. They know how they want to do it. And I really hope that it continues to kind of grow to the extent that it has. I think, they use a lot of STR casks in their production, which a lot of English whiskey distilleries do. And a lot of that is thanks to Dr. Jim Swan, who's no longer with us, sadly, who basically advised a lot of start-up distilleries back in the day to utilise STR casks because they're very, very dynamic. They bring a lot of flavour to a young whiskey. And I think it's a great way to go. So, thank you for watching, everybody. So that was review 200. And that was the Cotswolds Sherry Cask. If you can find it, try it. If you've got with any whiskey that I review, if you can try it in a bar or your friend's got one, try it first before you buy it. Don't depend on my opinion and say this is great, because you might not like it. But for me, this sherried whiskey is great. It's great for me because I like the spirit character of Cotswolds, and also it doesn't have any sulphur in it. I'm very, very sensitive to sulphur, as I've said 100 times on this channel, and this doesn't have a touch of sulphur in it. So, thanks for watching, everyone. Here's to 200 more, hopefully. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe. If you didn't, fair enough. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Cheers.